In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to do a very quick prototype level. So this is where if you've got some mechanics made and you want to test if they work really quickly, you can use these tools. The tools I'm showing you though, you won't want to have in your final game, so you want to swap these out with actual modeled static meshes. But using the tools I'm about to show you has a very quick way of seeing if something works or not. So what we're going to do, if you press this, you can see a cube with a plus. If you drop that down on the top left, then click on Place Actors Panel. It adds this window, which we can then add loads of different stuff, but we want to click on this Geometry tab. So the third from the right. So now that we have these, so you'll see these blue shapes. If you've not got blue, you're probably in the Shapes tool rather than the Geometry tool. So what we can do, if we drag in, let's say a box, zero that out on the position, and then I usually like to have it where the floor is 20, because with collision, if you have something too thin, if something's going fast enough or something gets hit hard enough, it can phase through the wall. So having it a little bit thick allows the engine to calculate and compute all of the physics with a nice thick collision. So then what we're going to do is do 500, 500, and we've got a tile there. So we can start doing what's called modular design, where we start to snap these together. And then if I make another one, I'm going to put this to 50, the snapping, and then I'm going to do 500, actually 400 on that, 20 on that, and then we've got some walls coming in. So I'm going to start putting them all together. So I'm holding Alt to do the duplication here. So if you hold Alt and then move something and then let go and then let go of Alt, it will then drop that down and then hold Alt again and do that. If you hold Alt while you're duplicating, so I'll do that, just delete these. If you keep holding Alt, so I've not let go of Alt now, if you start to move it, it just moves the same thing. So you need to let go of Alt and then press Alt again, and it allows you to duplicate more and more. So we've got this here, this here, this here, this here, this here. I'm going to make a little ceiling. So we've got this here, and then we're going to rotate this, put that, and then put that there. So now we've got an encapsulated little corridor in the game that's not lit. So currently, although it's saying lit, it's not lit. So it's currently using the unlit method on this here. If we put it back to lit, because we have no lights, it's not going to show anything. So keep it in unlit until you've got lights, and then you can see everything that you're working with. So what we want to do is put in another box, and then we want to add a doorway. So do the height as something like 300. You can change this, so some usually doors are something just above normal head height, so it would be something like 230 or something like that, but just for testing I'm going to do 300. And then what we can do is let's put this thickness down to 100, just so it's not cutting too much. So we want it overlapping, so we want it like thicker than this. And then what we can do, so all of these are currently in the additive mode. So if you want something to cut out, we can click on the shape we've just put in, scroll down on details until you see brush type, and it'll say additive by default. If we change that to subtractive, it will then cut through. But as we can see, it's currently cutting through the floor as well. So there's a couple ways that we can get around that. The most obvious one is just to move it up. So change the snapping and move it up. But if you've got quite a complex shape that you don't really, you can't really do that, there's a way to do it. So if you click on the thing that's being cut and you don't want it as cut, we can change the order to make sure it's above the hierarchy so that it doesn't get cut. So we need to find the advanced, so just below where it says additive and subtractive and everything, go to advanced and then click on the order. Now it's one of these, so let's click last. Okay, so if you click last, it puts it forward in the hierarchy. So it goes from the first in the list is the least important to the last in the list, which is most important. So if we do that, then it's not being cut into anymore. So there's a couple ways that we can get around that, depending on how complex your shape is and how affordable it is to do that. So a way to select the subtracted shape, because obviously it's disappeared now. If you click somewhere, it just goes through. Click on where it's cut through. So this doorway, click on one of the bits of the inside of the doorway, and then it selects the subtracted thing. So we can move that away, we can move that back in, we can do all that kind of thing. So what we can do now is put this around the world to add doorways into our corridor. So again, this is probably going to cut into this. So what we want to do, order last. And then do that. And then just do that again. And then just lastly here. So we select both of these, or all three of these, order last, and now it's not cutting in. So we've got a corridor with some doors on the left. So this is how we can start using these tools to really make some quite quick concepted places. So this is usually very good for indoor maps or anything that's like a building or anything like that. If you're using outdoor, you'd probably want to use the landscape tool, so you can sculpt natural mountains and hills and things like that. But using these tools, you can start to make quite a cool looking building. So things like stairs, you can add stairs in. You could add like pillars into the world, so scale that down on this axis and scale it up, and then put that in, do that kind of thing. So you can add pillars in, but I'm not going to. But all of these shapes, play around with, and you can start tweaking. So there's other things as well. So for example, the spiral stair. So this has quite a complex set of settings that you can work with. So if you put that in, you can see on the brush settings, you've got a lot of options. So you can change the inner radius, so you can make it wider or thinner. You can change the step width to make it so the huge stairs or very thin stairs. You can change the step height. All these kind of things you can start to tweak with to get an effect that you need. So you should be able to prototype anything you need as long as it's like a structure type thing very quickly. So this is how you use the BSP tools to effectively make a nice structure.